Good morning. Good morning. And make sure as you get here, you let me know that you're here by saying hello. Let's see here. Let me pull this up on my phone as well. What the heck? Let me get to it. How are you today? All right. I believe we are all set and ready to fly. And so, as you get here, say good morning and let me know that you're here. Why does this thing keep popping up? I need to. Ah, there we go. All right. I think we're good. So it's a beautiful day here. For those that don't know, I'm in Georgia. It's a little toasty, but it's beautiful. And before I go any further, I want to make sure if you're watching the replay, make sure that you put hashtag replay in the comments so that I know you were here and I can come back and answer questions that you have. Or if you have a statement or something, make sure you follow right along as we go into the affirmation and the journal prompt for today. It's a good one. All right, as I wait for people to pop in, I'm going to give a few more minutes and then I will get started. And so yesterday I had some interesting thing happens. And for those of you that know me, good morning, Wendy. You know that I have for a long time. It's a beautiful day there too. I imagine so. Looking at the beach, I think whether no matter what's going on in the weather, if you can sit on your deck and look at the beach, it's a good day. It's a beautiful day, right? I am quite envious of your view from your balcony there or your deck, whatever it's called. But yesterday I had an interesting experience, and some of you already may know some of this. I'm doing great, Wendy. I'm doing great. So the thing that was interesting yesterday, well, there was a lot of interesting things that happened. First of all, the way things work is I had a slammed schedule. It was like from one thing to the other all day long on my schedule. And little by little, people started removing themselves and putting themselves on another day and these things. So I ended up having extra time. And it was a great thing because when I went live with Melissa in her group, she was having a really tough time with the StreamYard for her. So, because of these people moving their stuff around, I was able to have time to get on a Zoom with her and walk her through getting all of that set up. And so, without that, I would have just had to say, I'll have to do it another day. But isn't it amazing how it's God looking back at you? Oh, I love that. I love that. But isn't it amazing how things just synchronistically just happen to be to the best interest of everybody, right? And so the people that rescheduled things, it's like it wasn't the right time for them, and it opened up a spot for me to do this with Melissa. So it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And then I met with someone that I've actually had in the group before, Kathy Burns, and she is the organization person. And so she came in, did a little short live, and I went live in her group. And so we're doing that again in July. So she can come in and help you guys with getting a life flowing, right? And because a lot of us get bogged down in the task of the day and then or organization and all that stuff. So I'm super excited about having her back in. And so just watch for that, because I will create an event later that talks about that, but it'll be next month. But I was so excited to meet up with her yesterday for a little bit. And but it is funny, and I'm just going to go ahead and share this, is that um, when I'm setting up my calendar, sometimes, like when she and I were on a Zoom, and we were setting up the calendar. And so, since we had met before, as I was putting my information in the calendar to set this up, it gave me her name and everything from when we had set it up before. So I put that in the calendar and I did all that stuff. And then I went to go create the Zoom, and she said, well, there's already a Zoom link here. And I said, well, that can't be, because I haven't created the Zoom link. And so it caused all this stuff where I had to go in and delete all these different things and create another Zoom link and send her this information. And then it wasn't right. So I had sent her about 4 or 5 different messages with a Zoom link, because I kept getting confused, because there was one here and one here. And so sometimes taking the quicker path, that's what I'm getting at. Because the quicker path was to click on in my calendar when it showed that I had had something with her before, had her name there. The easiest thing to do was click that. So it filled in the information, right? But it wasn't the easier thing. It would actually caused me to be more time consumed with having to redo all this stuff. And so I just wanted to share, sometimes the easiest path is not actually the easiest path. And I don't know who needs to hear that today, but I definitely learned that big time yesterday. And so she may be sitting back thinking, what in the heck is wrong with her? I don't know. But anyway, it's all set now. We've got it all set. At least I think we do. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get to the affirmation. Hold on. Making sure it populates. And did I ask you, Wendy, how you are? All of a sudden I thought, I don't know. She said good morning and hello. Anyway, and just in case I didn't, how are you today? All right, so let's go ahead and go to the affirmation. I hold the controller to my life and steer my journey with intention and confidence. And what's important about this to me is, a lot of times, like beautiful. Thank you, Wendy. You're terrific. I'm so glad to hear it. A lot of times we feel like, I've talked about our boat in a little sailboat in the ocean, and we're being tossed by the waves, or we've got the sails up and we're going with the wind, and maybe our little, I don't know sailing, so I don't know the terminology, but our thing that helps us to move the sails to get the best wind and direct us, maybe that's not working so well. And maybe we want to put the motorboat on the back and quit being tossed and blown by the wind, right? So we get to choose how we move forward, how we steer our ship, so to speak. And so it's important to know where you want it to go, right? Because otherwise you are being tossed. It's like getting into the calling an Uber, and they say, well, where are you? And you say, well, I'm here, but you don't give them directions, so they don't know where to come and get you. And then they say, where do you want to go? I don't know. And so you've got to know where you are, right? Where you are. And then you got to know where you want to go, because otherwise you're just willy-nilly going down roads and paths, and intuition helps us tremendously, right? But our intuition helps us guide us. It gives us inspiration. God gives us inspiration, but we have to have an inspired place to go. Otherwise, we're just tossed around by life, right? And there are so many people that's okay for them. That's what they want. They don't want to plan. They don't want to spend time working on all of this stuff. But if you're here and you're part of this group, that's not you, right? You want to have a direction in your life and you like learning and growing and becoming even more, right? And getting closer and closer and closer to that place that you would feel the most aligned with your purpose, right? And so, just because you're in this group, I know that that is what's going on. Otherwise, you wouldn't have joined or you wouldn't have stayed, right? And so it is a beautiful thing to be holding our controller. Like if we're in a game, the game of life, and I talk a lot about Florence Scovel Shinn, and I may not be pronouncing her name right, but that's okay. But she has the book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And this is an old book. I believe, if I remember right, she wrote this in the 30s. But I don't know. Where is my book? Let me see. Well, I don't see it right now, but I have a like a compilation of. Oh, there it is. Hold on. All right. So this is it. It has several of her books in here. The Game of Life and How to Play It, Your Word is Your Wand, The Secret Door to Success, and The Power of the Spoken Word. All of these are very, very powerful. Let's see if it says when she wrote this book. But the thing is, the principles are all the same. What the heck? Okay. She wrote The Game of Life and How to Play It was written in 1925. Isn't that amazing? And to think that it's still relevant today. And now she does like some of the examples and stuff she gives are definitely from 1925. I was thinking the 30s, but heck, what do I know, right? I'm not from that time, so I don't recognize the connections and the references, I guess. And so just think about it. So and you read the Bible, right? Or most of you do. So in the Bible, look at how long ago that was, and it still has lessons and relevance for today. And so and she refers a lot to the Bible in her stuff too. Um, to God, and she'll cite passages and stuff every now and then. But if you haven't read that book, you need to. And I'll see if I can share the link. I'll see if I can get it and share that with you. The thing that's so amazing to me is that once you learn these principles, because remember she wrote that in 1925. So you learn these principles because they're always the same principles with life. And it is getting in control of your thoughts, your emotions. And that doesn't mean that you control everything you think and you say and everything, because that's impossible, because we are human, right? Above all, we're human. So that means we're going to fall prey to listening to something that doesn't serve us, or making a statement that doesn't serve us. The what happens as you go through this journey is you start recognizing when you're doing this so much faster. Like I used to, when something would come up, I would fall down this rabbit hole of despair and why's me, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I would stay there for a while, right? Sometimes for a long while. And what's happened as I've learned and grown with all of this and started holding on to the controller of my life and steering it where I want it to go, I've got where I might fall down the rabbit hole, but I'm getting out. It's like I've got springs on the bottom of my feet. So just imagine that. So you fall down into the rabbit hole, and then the springs on the bottom of your feet, poof, catapult you out right out. So you only stay there for just a few moments, because the thing is that when something happens, do we need to process the emotion that we have because of it? Yes, we do. Because of another thing that happens is if we do not process the emotion, if we bury what happened and we don't even face it, then it comes back to bite us at some point. It's like when my children's father passed away. I don't know why I've got this itch, sorry. Um, but when my children's father passed away, my daughter was 7 and my son was 16. And I took them to grief counseling because one of the things that I knew was that if they didn't learn to deal with this at that stage, that they would deal with it at some point. The interesting thing was that, and I'll just share, is that the grief counselor told me that it was more relevant to my daughter because she was so young, that there would be different stages in her life that she would have to deal with it again because things would come up because she dealt with this as a child, right? And so her cognitive ability to process this was a child's level. And so as she grew, there was going to be things that would come up, moments in her life that would bring all of this back up. And so if we hadn't done that work back then, when it came up, it could deflate her like crazy, right? Now, there are still times that she gets very moody and deflated about it, and which I don't blame her, right? It's a lot. And so the thing is that when we don't deal with something as it occurs, then we deal with it later. So you can either deal with it in the moment and process it and let it go, or you can bury it under the rug and then you can come back and process it later, which is harder, right? It's kind of like, the old thing, and the people that are a lot younger are maybe not going to understand this, but when I was a child, and the thing is that if somebody got chicken pox, did they go get a vaccine? No. They made sure that some of the kids got around each other so that they'd all get chicken pox at the same time. And then there'd be this herd immunity. So then they didn't have to worry about chicken pox anymore. And, whether that's the right thing to do or not, I cannot tell you. The thing is that, let's get the chicken pox out of the way. If you've got something that's happened and's going on and you haven't dealt with it yet, take some time, deal with it. One of the things that I do with hypnosis is not always hypnotizing people. There are so many things that I do. And one of the things is I do shadow work, which means that there's something in your past that keeps emotionally coming up in you. And if you've ever, and shadow work works with so many different things. So if you've ever been a person that said, oh, a part of me wants to do this and a part of me wants to do that, and I don't really know what to do, that means that your parts of your brain are not working together. They're fighting each other. And so that's the part of the shadow work, is to get your subconscious mind to work together. So I like to envision it like this, okay? I like to think that there is like if you watch Shrek, remember that if you've ever watched the DVD, there's like a crowd of all these creatures, and then the donkey is, popping up, pick me, pick me, pick me, right? And so we have internally in our mind, we have all these different parts of us: the part that likes to draw, the part that likes to run, the part that likes to play, the part that gets depressed, the part that thinks that everybody's a bully, the part that thinks, there's parts of us from all the different things that we've dealt with in our life, right? There's little parts of us that believe that or have that stored. And sometimes when we're trying to do things, part of us is all on board. But there could be several little parts that saying, no, not going to happen. And so when I did this the first time for myself, when I had one of my cohorts in my hypnosis and in my coaching school, when we did this together, I, in my mind, envisioned that I was standing on almost like I was at a mountain, like the flat place of a mountain. So a landing, I guess. And then I was looking down into this big cavern of like almost like it was the uh, well, anyway, so a big cavern where there's tons of people, or and it's little bits and pieces of me that are all down there, and they're just watching me, and and I would say, okay, this is something that I want to do, and this is something that I believe. So who's on board? And there would be a bunch of them that would be going, yeah, it's me, 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 and I'd say, okay, who's opposed? And there would be several of them that would pop up, me, just like Shrek, right? And so this is all going on in my mind, right? And in my imagination. And so then when I did that, it was like, okay, I can see that the part of me that thinks I'm not good enough, the part of me that thinks that you're always going to be fat, the part of me that thinks, yeah, you say you want to do that, but do you really? And the part of me that thinks, everybody's going to laugh at you. The part of me that thinks that if you do that, then somebody's going to come up and they're going to hurt your feelings. The part of you that thinks that, so I had all these different thoughts that showed up in my imagination that then I could deal with them, right? And so sometimes we think we're all in on something that we want to do, and but we're kind of like we're sitting the controller of our life right here on this table, and we're just spinning it. And so any of those parts can pick it up and say, okay, I don't think I'm good enough. All right, this is what we're going to do because I'm going to prove I'm not good enough. And then the next one picks it up. Okay, the part of me that says people are going to laugh at me. Oh, we're going to make that happen. Go ahead. And so I'm saying that we sometimes think we're holding the controller of our life, but if we have not dealt with different things that have happened to us in the past and we've kind of buried it down, or maybe we've worked on it some, but we haven't resolved anything. And resolve does not mean that you no longer recognize that it ever happened, right? Because we can't just take it away. And who wants to? You don't want to, because you want to remember the lesson. You want to have it to be part of your growth and your expansion. So we take the emotional charge out of it. So we have our lesson, we have our growth from it. We have the part that makes us even better. We don't take it away. So I don't know. I think right now, Wendy, or you might be the only one that I can see here right now. So I don't know. But have you ever said that to yourself of, well, part of me wants this and part of me wants that? So if you're on Instagram, have you ever, because I can't, for some reason this morning, I can't see who's there. So if you're on Instagram, answer that question. Have you ever said to yourself, part of me wants to do this and part of me wants to do something else? Sabotage. Yeah. So I'm assuming that means that, yes, you have said that. And this is so bizarre. None of those comments are showing up over here. So I'm having to look at my phone. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. And so when that happens, so from here on out, if you didn't know this before, that just means there's a part of you that says, nope, that's not what I believe. I don't believe that's possible. Let me show you what I believe. And so it's time when that happens to figure out what part of you is opposed to it. That was my block. Okay. And then, so that's something that I can help with, because a lot of times it's like I say all the time, we can't see our shit when we're in it, right? It's like you can, and I know that's such a phrase, but anyway, it's the only way I can say it, or the only way it feels congruent with the process. um, because when we're immersed in something, we can't see our way out. And it's like it's a gradual thing that happens to us, right? And it's like I was even listening to a podcast this morning, and one of the things he referred to, which is something that I have heard so many times, but it was like, this is what I just needed to hear this morning, right? So the reason why some of this stuff happens to us is because it's such a gradual thing. It's like, remember I told you that if you're growing 1% every day, you don't even notice it over time. It becomes part of you, right? Well, the opposite happens too. You don't realize that you're going backwards. And it's kind of like the scenario of, if you've ever heard this, where you have a pot and you fill it with water and you put a frog in there. You have it a little warm, it's comfortable, it doesn't move. You have it on the stove and you turn it on. That frog, even though it could very easily just pop right out of that pot, very easily, no big deal, it won't do it, because it's such a gradual change in the temperature. It's such a gradual change that it's kind of comfortable. It kind of feels better. And then until it's to the point where it's boiled alive, because things happen so slowly sometimes that we don't even recognize the crap, the shit that we're in, and how easy it would be to get out if we just changed perspective, if we changed our environment, if we changed the things we were absorbing, right? That's why when I was released, it felt like a rocket. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And so that's having the controller of your life and steering your own journey with intention and confidence. I mean, doesn't that feel powerful to think that no longer are you putting the controller on the table and spinning it and let whatever part of you that doesn't believe that you're capable or that it's a good thing pick up the controller and steer you in a different direction, right? So we're making sure that we're holding tight to our controller. And that doesn't mean we're constricted or anything like that. It's just we're taking control, right? Yes, yes. We're taking control of our life and we're steering our process, our journey, all the things that happen with intention and confidence. Now, that doesn't mean that everything comes exactly the way we imagine, because that's not real either, right? And that's a good thing, because sometimes, and I'll share, like, and I know this may not seem relevant, but to me it is. So I'll go ahead and share. One of the things that's funny about me is if somebody says, "What do you want for Christmas?" or "What do you want for your birthday?" I don't want to give them an answer, because I may have an idea of what I want, and I tell them and they get that, right? But what if, and this has happened so many times, they have an idea of what I could use or what would be wonderful for me, and they get that, and it never crossed my mind, and I love it, right? And so I feel like it's the same way with life. If we pick out exactly what our journey is supposed to be, what amazing journey are we missing out on, right? So isn't it wonderful? Isn't it more plausible to say, I have the controller, right? I can steer any way I want to go. However, I don't have to be in control of the exact path. I'm control of me, and then God, intuition, takes us around this way. I never would have thought to go that way. It's like, I started, it's one of the things, and I had big breakthrough today. Ooh, I can't wait to hear, can't wait to hear. Hi, Kimmy, good to have you here. The thing is that on this journey that I've been on, I would have never, like several years ago, have thought that by feeling this angst about not speaking my voice, right? Weight wise, ooh, can't wait, can't wait. The thing is that when like I said, I wouldn't have even thought a few years ago, even 2 years ago, right, that that angst that I had about my not speaking my voice, that I wanted to do something to be able to just be me, right? And nowhere in my vision, nowhere in my mind did I ever think that a podcast would do that, right? Now, I wanted to, at one point, I thought, oh, maybe that would be the answer. Maybe I should start a podcast. But the thought of it was like, ooh, I'm not techie. I don't know how to do that. It sounds like it'd be too hard. And I watched some of these amazing podcasts and I thought, I don't know that I could ever do that. And it took me on a different journey because I met Stacy and I started my podcast. But when I did all of that, I know some of you know this. I hired a coach after that because I didn't know Stacy did anything else other than start the podcast and do some of the little challenges, right? That's all I thought she did. And so I hired this coach and he helped me to see that some of the things that I wanted to do, I needed to do things just a little bit different. So he gave me a little bit of a different direction of how to do things. However, he did tell me I needed to stop with the podcast because he said it was distracting me. But I knew in my heart that that podcast was really what was helping me emotionally. And it was amazing. But before I started my podcast, I had to sit down and think as Stacy was taking us through this workshop, right? I loved the podcast. Oh, yay. As I was diving into this information with Stacy and starting my podcast, at some point I said, oh, I don't want it to be polished. I don't want to edit things. I feel like my voice, I want to be able to speak and say it. And it seems counterintuitive to use this to put my voice out there and then go in and edit things. And because, I have tools that would allow me to do it if I want to. I use it for something totally different. I don't edit it. I use it to get the transcript and do these different things to be able to have a better description and things for the podcast. But it has the ability to go in there and take out your ums, to take out if there's something that you say all the time, like, it has the ability to take those out. It also has the ability to remove sections if you don't want those in there. And I've only used that one time. And that was when the one time, and Kimmy, you were there for that, when I had the person pop in on the live and I, without understanding the whole thing, let them on the screen with me. And then they shared porn. And it stayed up in the group for a little bit, but I had streamed it out to different places. So I just completely removed it from everywhere but our group. And then I put it in that program and I took out that little section so that it would not. Now I've come to think of it, I've done it twice. I did it that time, and which was amazing. So then I was able to share it out. But I did it another time when one of my podcast guests lost connection. And so there was this long stretch that there was nothing there. She was gone. And so I still left the part that said, "Are you there?" And then I took out that space of total nothingness, right? And so there's still something there that lets you know that something was afoot, because I didn't want to remove everything because it was what happened. I just wanted to take the little silence out because it lasted for a little bit as she was trying to get reconnected. And I didn't want people to just think something was wrong, that they had disconnected and then they wouldn't listen to the whole podcast. But that's the only 2 times I've used that. But see, I could have gone in there every single time and polished things up, but I don't want to polish it up. I want to be rough and raw. And I am with you guys. There's times, hell, I cry at the drop of a hat over something when I didn't even think it was going to be that way, right? Maybe sometimes I share a story that I think I'm good with, and then all of a sudden it makes me cry. And so there's so much that I just let it be. But I didn't know that was possible that you could do it that way. I thought that a podcast was this polished thing that, because when you watch some of them, oh my gosh, they have all these little things that come up ahead of time and they tell you all these stories, and then they have their podcast and it's like they got a camera here and a camera here and they're doing all this stuff. I thought that's what I had to do. But I didn't. And by taking control of my life and steering my journey, my intention was to be able to put my voice out. And so as I set that intention, the reason I'm giving this long story is when I set that intention that I wanted to get my voice out, and I don't really know how to do it. It doesn't seem like a podcast would be it, but all right, God, help me here. And that's when I saw the podcast challenge with Stacy, and I thought, what could it hurt? If I do that and nothing happens, no big deal, right? But if I don't do it and then I'm still sitting here thinking, what if I had done that, right? But look at it, if I hadn't done it, the amount of people that I have connected with, because I'm now at, I'm so close to the 100. And like, if you look at my podcast, it's going to say what was one of them said yesterday. I had 107 or 108, but that's not true because the numbers are skewed. And part of it happens, and I've discovered part of this too, is that when I go in and change somebody's podcast information, because I thought there was no problem with doing that, right? Well, so sometimes people will send me information after I've already posted it. Or like I had one person, I sent her the information and she said, I didn't really want to share this email. I wanted to share this other email. So I go back in, I open it up and I change that stuff out. And I didn't realize that every time I do that, it moves the numbers around. And there was also the time that Callcast had this glitch where everything disappeared. And then they still had it in their system. So they put it all back, but the numbers were off. The episodes were not from the very beginning. So they're not as they were in the beginning. They're not in the order that I recorded them. And so I could say I've got 107 or whatever the hell it is, but that's not me. I look and I count and I see what numbers are missing and where does that put me? So I think I looked the other day, I had it written down. I think I was at 95. So that means I've got several this next week. And so I'm going to be at 95 really quick. And I'm going to celebrate the hell out of that 100th episode. And so that's an integrity thing for me. Because like I said, I could have celebrated that 100 a while back. Would anybody have known? Probably not. Because probably nobody's going to go in there and start looking and saying, oh, wait a minute. Where's number 74? That's not in there. You skipped one. Look at you taking advantage and saying that you've got 100 when you don't. See, that's one of those parts in my brain that says somebody's going to find out, right? But it's integrity for me to follow the numbers and celebrate when it is an actual 100, right? But so I'm learning and I'm growing as I go. I hope you are all good. I'm doing okay. Yes, I am. And maybe we can lighten your load a little bit today, maybe. And remember, tonight is the masterclass. So come to the masterclass if at all possible, Kimmy. It's going to be amazing. So tonight at 6:30 p.m., Laura and I are going to be there shining bright and brilliant and sharing with you. And so be there if at all possible. Anybody that's watching, be there if at all possible, because this is going to be the last one for quite a while because we've got the program coming up and I've got some other things in the works. And yes, me too, Wendy. I can't wait because it's nothing scripted. And so we just, I like to say we fly by the seat of our pants and we know what our message is. We know what we're doing, but we actually, work with the audience, the people that are there participating. And sometimes it changes. We may have an idea before we go on, and we talk a little bit before we get started, right? And so we kind of have an idea of, I really want to share this and I really want to share that. We talk. And then sometimes when we get on there, it's like, I think I'm going to share something totally different. But it's amazing. It is different every single time. And I even say, if I share the same story in the second one, I am not a robot. There's no way I can share it exactly the same way anyway. And it's like when we're, you're going to be on tonight. So does that mean you're going to be at work or you're going to be on at the master class? I'm not sure what that means. That may mean you're working tonight. And if so, you can catch the replay because I'll be sending out the replay to everybody. But I don't know. It feels good to be able to pivot. When somebody's on and you can see that there's something that they're looking for, then you can pivot. We don't want to be so set in stone that we leave somebody behind because that's not on our agenda, right? And so that's what I love about working with Laura. She's the same way. It's like, we're just going to flow. And, and there's a few people in my life that I can get on with like that. Stacy's one of them. And we just flow. It's amazing. And I love that. But keep watching because I've got some new things coming up and I'm super excited. And you're going to be blown away tonight at the masterclass, all the things that people have poured into this new program that's coming up. So we'll share tonight because you're going to be blown away. All right. So now let's get to the journal prompt. What time is it? Holy smokes. I gotta get going. I've got a client. All right. What moves can you make today to advance towards your biggest goals? And list 3 actionable steps. So one of your actionable steps could be coming to the masterclass tonight, right? You'll be okay. Well, the masterclass is actually participating. So you're going to be there and participating. Ooh, or does that mean you're watching from work? I am so confused. I'm not grasping that. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I had the hard time with the calendar yesterday. But just think about it. Look at today. What is the biggest goal that you have? And then list 3 actionable steps. And that's all you need to do is 3 actionable steps. And like one of the actionable steps is just actually creating the goal, deciding where is your destination? What are you really wanting to get? And so if you're coming to the masterclass tonight, one of your goals could be, what is it that you're wanting to get from this masterclass? What is it, right? And then, or that might be one of your actionable steps. That would be it, not really a goal. So look at it. And what is your goal? What are your actionable steps? At least 3, so that you can look and see, is that something I can do now? Is that something I can do today? How can I make that happen? And so definitely be there tonight if at all possible. And I'm so excited about tonight. And then I will want to remind you about Luis is going to be here on Thursday in the group, and there's an event set up for that. But all right, I have to pop off here. I will watch it and join in if I can. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so I am so excited to be on this journey with you. You have no idea how much I love you guys. And so thank you for being part of my world. And you have an exceptionally blessed day. I would take more time, but I took so much time on the other stuff, and I have a client that's due in just a few minutes. So you have an amazing day, and I will hopefully see you tonight. You too, Wendy. Have a wonderful day. Mwah.